I'd like to welcome everyone listening to our first episode of PAOK Talk. We are your hosts, Angelo and Jono, and we're glad to be bringing this radio show to you. We hope that we keep you entertained with this nonstop talk of all our beloved PAOK. Jono, how you doing this afternoon?
Hey Angelo, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm really excited to do some bulk talk. I've been looking forward to this for a few days now. We've been talking, so I'm really excited and good to go.
Yeah, no, thanks for reaching out to me on the forums, and it's I'm glad to be working with you and everything. So for those that don't know, I'm living in the States and John was in Australia. So our
Yep.
time difference is a little different. Right now it's 11 o'clock at night, and John, what time is it for you there?
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so
Right.
we'll forgive you if you're a little slow, Angelo. You might be a little sleepy, but it's all good.
Yeah, a little sleepy, right? That's good. We'll get started right away. For those that don't know, we're going to be giving about maybe 15, 20 minutes of Palk Talk. We're going to be talking about all things that are coming up in this week. We're going to talk about on this show about transfers, transfers in, transfers out, and then we're going to give a little prediction segment for the Greek clubs playing in Europe this week. So, John, just starting, we're going to talk about the transfers coming in this year. So we have, one of the first ones we got was Stefan Schwab, and how do you think he is doing so far? How do you think that he's going to be replacing someone like Misic or Mauricio?
Yeah, well, Schwab, I was really excited when we signed him. Looking at his biography, at his background, playing in Austria, was a captain there for a few years with his club, Rapid Vienna, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so really excited to get someone who just has experience because I think that's something that's underrated. Greece, in terms of the football, is so different to the rest of Europe. So I think having a level of maturity and experience is crucial because I think young players can kind of be a little bit taken aback when they come to Greece and see how things are kind of done a little bit differently. So I think that's going to hold him in good stead, and I can't see him taking much time to kind of get acclimatized to the football. In terms of how he did, I liked what I saw in against Besiktas. Obviously, we remember that ball that he played out to Yanulis for the 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great pass, and I think it shows that he's a good passer. I think that game in particular maybe didn't highlight his strength. The game was very stretched and very end to end, and he strikes me as a player that will thrive in possession. So when we dominate teams, more likely in the Super League, and have them pin back and knocking the ball from side to side, I think we'll see the best of Schwab then. But I'm not sure if you how you see him as a player, but that's what I see.
No, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it's a really good pickup for us. He seems like he is a leader on and off the pitch. I know that when Pauk first got him, a lot of people on Twitter, Austrian fans, Rapid Vienna fans, were saying how disappointed they were that he left. And it seemed like he is a leader already, and he's only been here for a couple games, but um, he's valued at about 2 million on transfer market. I know some people on the forums live and die by the transfer market and the value, but we got him for free. And anytime you could get a leader in the locker room, I think that's what we were missing last year, especially
Mhm.
towards the end. We had good players, but I don't think we had that the leader that was vocal. And I know you had Virini, you had Varela, but I
Mhm.
feel like someone like Schwab can. He has really good leadership um, background. Um, he is, and what I noticed about that game, the Besiktas game, is he was the first one celebrating with the team whenever they scored, and it seemed
Yep.
like the team really got to know him and got to trust him early on. In regards to his play, like you said, that long ball to Yanulis for the goal was amazing. He had another one, I think, to the right side. Um, I'm not sure it was to Limno or Pelkas.
Mhm.
It resulted in a goal, I don't believe, but I feel like
Mhm.
when he's on the pitch, he'll be able to calm things down when things aren't going as well. And from in the Super League, teams are going to be sitting back and going to be parking the bus against us a lot of the times, and that's usually when we have trouble scoring. So I feel like having a Schwab on the field that he is going to calm the team down and have a presence about him. He didn't play that. He's only played one game for the national team for Austria. So
Mhm.
it's not that he's a star player, but I think his leadership is bar none. I think he's already one of the leaders on the team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, and I think that's something that we all look at is national team appearances. Like that's something that I was curious to see, and I wasn't a little bit disappointed. I was probably a little bit curious as to why he only had one cap, but I think, like you said, his other quality. I don't get me wrong. I don't think he's going to come and be the league's best player, but I think he'll be very important to us. Like you said, be it
Mm-hmm.
with leadership. He's obviously an adequate passer, especially that he has that left foot. Um, which looked really dangerous, whether it's shooting or playing those long balls.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to keep that in mind that, he's probably not going to be a superstar because I think, as well as me, that Greek fans and PAOK fans can kind of jump on players' backs if they don't come in and make an immediate huge difference. So,
Right.
but no, I agree with you. I think he's going to be really important and that leadership is going to shine through this season. We're going to need it.
Yeah, we are. Moving forward, we have Nanua and Pereira who just signed today. So
Hmm.
what do you think about those two pickups?
Well, Ninu is an interesting one coming from the Georgian league. Obviously, not a massive league in European terms. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see at 21 that he was the captain of Dinamo Tbilisi, I believe. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure if we're going to see too much of him just because of his age, but I'm hopeful. And given his age and that he was a captain as well, I'm hoping that he's one for the future and maybe one that I think the team has signed with the hope that we either get quite a few years of service out of him or a couple of good seasons with us and we can sell him for a decent price. I think that's the logic with signing a player that in that age demographic.
Right.
I'm not sure
Um.
if you yeah.
So for Nanua, at first I was perplexed. Signing someone from the Georgian league. Uh, Kind of an unknown factor here. You know, he's a young player. 21 years old. At first people were talking about he's a holding mid, a defensive mid. Then we look at his film and he's playing higher up the field. He's playing stretched out wide. Um, so one thing I will say though is from his highlight film and watching games, it seems like he's a free kick specialist.
Hmm.
I believe he took most of the team's free kicks, most of Tbilisi's free kicks, and he has some beautiful goals there. So if you told me that we were getting him a couple years ago, I would have said that it was a great transfer, looking to make money in the future. Maybe he does well, then he goes off for a couple million to some other league. But I think we're past that point now where we are not a team that is looking for players like that. I think eventually we have to start buying bigger name players, players who can help our team right now. Not necessarily players that we could look forward to getting some sort of uh, money compensation in return in terms of transfer deals. Um, I don't think, like you said, I agree with you, and I don't think that he's going to be that much of a help this year. Um, but then we go back and look at it, right? We were in the Champions League qualifiers. We're three wins away, I guess you could say, from playing
Yeah.
in the group stage. And it seems like Schwab is one of our. He's going to be a key player, right? He's going to be playing pretty
Hmm.
much every game. We'll see
Yep.
about Zivkovic, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I
Yep.
feel like we should be at that point now where we're getting players who are going to help us right now, not necessarily down the road. One or two players is fine, but when you have holes that you need to fill, and we have plenty of holes that we need to fill, you know, by not doing that, that makes me think that the leadership is content with playing in the Europa League, playing in the Super League, just worrying about that with no aspirations for the Champions League. But I think Nua is a good prospect. I think that he could play in the attacking midfield role, kind of like an El Kaduri or a
Hmm.
Pelkas. But I think it depends. I mean, again, we have to see what he does. He was in the Georgian League. Can he play in the Champions League? Can he play in the Europa League? That I think that's gonna, we're gonna have to see in the maybe this game, maybe the next game. whenever it be, but he'll get his opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, like coming from Georgia is such an unknown. Like we have no idea of the level of football there and the level of footballer that he is. It's only something that we're gonna see when he gets minutes, whenever that is.
Right.
In terms of signing young players, personally, look, I don't mind it. He's come on the relatively cheap. It's been reported between sort of 700 and 850,000, which I mean, given this season with COVID, and I know last we struggled with financial fair play, it might seem like a decent amount, but I don't mind having those type of players that you can turn into sales potentially. And I think that we're not going to sign players that are difference makers every time. So I personally don't mind it, but I understand what you're saying
Right.
in terms of signing players that are going to push us up that level and have us go, Champions League hopefully, and runs in the Europa League at the very least, making it out of the group stage.
Yeah, and when I mean I don't want to sign young players, I mean I'd be fine with signing someone that's 18, 19 that we can mold right into how we want them. But from my perspective, when we're signing someone that's 21, going to be 22 next summer, and we consider him a young prospect, I think that's a little um, I think that's kind of we just have to determine our philosophy, what it wants to be, what Savides wants us to be. Do we want to be a team where we're buying players young, we're building them up a little bit, then we sell them, or do we want to be a team that we get bigger name players to come to us and we actually have a chance? So we'll see. We'll see what makes of him. I think that he has a potential to be good, but we'll see. And then
Yep.
today's or today or yesterday's signing of Pereira. I mean, left back from
Mm-hmm.
Norway, played for Viking. Again, kind of an unknown figure.
Mm-hmm.
We got him. I don't know if the reports are out for how much we got him. Do you know or?
I'm not. I've read that it's again a similar sort of price range between 7 to 900,000 euros. I could be slightly off on that, but that's been my kind of reading. That's kind of been what's reported throughout.
Right. I don't think there's actual. It hasn't been released yet, but I'm thinking it's on a higher
Official.
end, close to 1 million. But from what I'll just go first. So what I see about his playing style, his potential, I see him as an attacking wingback, kind of Yanuli like, where
Mm-hmm.
he's very offensive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but after doing some research and I actually talked to someone who coached in Finland, so he's Scandinavian. He coached in the first division, and talking to him about players, and I mentioned him and see if he had any idea, and he said he's a very strong attacking player. He's fast, he's shifty, he's quick, but his defensive ability is weak, especially for someone that's hopefully going to play in the Champions League someday. Hopefully, going to play in the Europa League knockout stages someday. But again, same thing. He's a young player, and I think we're banking him on. I it makes me think if Yanulis leaves, is he going to be our starting left back or our outside wing back with this
Yeah.
formation we play? If
Yeah.
he
Well.
go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. On that, I think they've signed um Nilson Pereira,
Mm,
with the intention of being that backup. I think if Yanulis was to be sold, they'd go after another starter, just like you said, because of his age. He's 21. He's quite raw. I agree with you in your assessment of him in terms of he's clearly attackingly, he looks very good. Defensively, he has some issues. So I think that if Yanulis was to be sold, be it this transfer window or in the middle of the year, that would go after another starter. But yeah, I think he's been purely bought in as depth, as cover. We know Yanulis we haven't had another left back in the squad for, I feel like, like obviously Vieirinha has played there as cover at
right.
times, but we haven't had a pure left back. I feel like since Azevedo, if you remember that, the Brazilian left back we had, I think during the 17-18 season, he came for 6 months.
Right. Right.
So I'm kind of, like Yanulis has been working overtime. So I'm happy that we have some cover now for him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't think he'd be a starter.
Mm.
Or I mean, he could be a starter, but I don't think he'd be successful in the bigger games. I think he'd get outmatched. I mean,
Yeah.
look at what the Olympiacos players did against our starting outside backs during the playoffs and during the league. I think that they would just tear him apart. But again, it's a wait and see thing. I think it's a good potential. But if he has to be the starter day in and day out, I don't know how confident I feel. But let's talk about the big one, the big player that potentially has that potential where he can be a game changer, where he can be a big name player for us, and that's the Zivkovic. Um, he came to us free. He was a wonder kid at one point. His value in 2016 was around 7 million, 8 million euros. So he had really good potential, but it just never panned out for him.
Yep.
Personally, I love this move. I think these are the moves that we should be taking. He is someone who is going to want to prove that he is who people thought he was at the beginning of his career. I know that I believe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe his contract is a 1 year deal with an option. Um,
Um, my understanding is that it's 2 years
okay.
straight out. So I think, yeah, that's what's been reported from what I've seen. So it's 2 years.
Right. So even 1 year, 2 years, I know some people would say, well, he's just using us to get to a stepping stone. I'll let
Mhm.
him use us as long as we get to the Champions League group stage. I'm fine with that. But these are the players I think that we should be signing because eventually someone is gonna come here thinking that they're gonna use it as a stepping stone and they're gonna stay here, right? And then you're gonna have someone else that's gonna come and do the same thing, and that's how you're gonna start to build the team. What do you think about Zivkovic?
Yeah, like you, I'm excited about this signing. I agree. These are like if you want to make Champions League, if you want to compete for the league, these are the type of players that you need to sign. As you said, was a wonder kid once. His numbers at Partizan Belgrade are quite impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Benfica, didn't hasn't quite panned out. Sorry. The 2 year thing is interesting. I like you said, I am with you. If we get 2 years, 18 months, however long he stays, of good service out of him in his plays to what his potential is, then I think it's a win. He's obviously coming, as you said, he's kind of hit a bit of a wall in his career. So he's coming to try and get his career back on track, hence the 2 year contract. If it doesn't really work out, or if a big team comes knocking, he's in a good position to force the sale or walk away as a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. I'm not too concerned about that. What is my major concern is that for at least a year or two, we have what appears to be a quality player. Looking at his just his physical attributes, so he's quite short, and he's been compared to guys like for Greek Super League comparisons, for guys like Fetfadzivi, Potense, who obviously got sold to Wolves in
Mm-hmm.
January for close to 20 million. So that type of dribbler, that type of creator is something that we have lacked, I think, just to force the chances. He doesn't score that much, which is okay, which again is kind of similar to those sort of guys. They're not great scorers and not great finishers,
Right.
but they're great chance creators. And if he can create, a handful of really good chances a game, then we've really done well here and signs a player that I agree with you could push us into hopefully the Champions League. I'm content with a run in the Europa League. That means getting out of the group stage to me, because we've obviously struggled in Europe the last couple of years. We haven't made it out of the group stage since Ivic days, 2016, 17, I believe. So I want the Champions League group stage, absolutely. But I think Zivkovic, even if we are playing just Europa League group stage football, he can take us to the knockout rounds and hopefully beyond.
Right, yeah, and someone like you look at Olympiacos and how they got Valbuena, and I'm not comparing the two because I think Valbuena is on a different level, right?
Yep.
Obviously, he's older. I'm not
Yeah.
comparing the two, but someone like that who, Valbuena came to Olympiacos age 34, you would think that he's pretty much on his decline, but he's at 7 goals in 26 appearances, and every time he plays, he still has it. So if we could get anything like that, I think that's very helpful. So,
Yeah, I'm with you.
so let's transition to who we've let go. There hasn't been that many transfers out. There's been a couple players left for free. So we'll just focus on Limno right now.
Hmm.
He is the biggest name that currently left us. I know we have Mauricio, who I believe is still without a team. We have Stock, who's kind of with the team, without a team. Vernbloom, right? He's playing, I believe, in Sweden.
Yep, he's
So
gone.
so we'll talk about the Limno one exclusively. Do you think that was a good deal? Would you have held out? I know that's a big contention, especially on the forums. What do you think about that one?
Look, personally, with the Limnios sale, I think so what's reported is a 3.3 million deal with 300,000 going to Atromitos, who had a percentage of his resale value.
Right.
So essentially 3 million to PAOK with I think a 15% resale value. I think it's a good deal, keeping in mind this player is entering the last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
In January, he could sign anywhere, and then at the end of the season, walk as a free agent,
Right.
as a free transfer. So I think we need to keep all these things in mind. Big picture, 22, he's become kind of a mainstay in the national team under Van Schip, who seems to kind of have a lot of confidence in him. So, look, I think in a best case scenario, if he was contracted, and again, they got to remember, COVID has hit football as it has hit the rest of the world. So teams probably aren't spending what they would. So I think keeping all that in mind, best case we could have got him being contracted pre-COVID, 5, maybe 6 million. I like Limnios as a player. He's a hard worker. He's an honest footballer. He's the type of guy that'll make a career out of, all due respect, limited talent. He has his limitations. That's why I think we need to. I'm happy. That's why I'm happy with the transfer fee, because he's a player with limitations. His dribbling isn't great. One-on-one, he's a very dangerous when he has space, but against closed defenses, against teams that park the bus, he does struggle. So he's only 22. He has plenty of time to work on his craft. He's going to a great footballing country in Germany, which will definitely help develop him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all in all, it's a fair offer. We couldn't have expected any more from a player entering his final year. He's probably reached his ceiling with PAOK and in Greece. So I think it was a fair offer. I don't know how you see it, if you agree.
Yeah, there's a couple points that I know that you said, and this last one about reaching the ceiling. I feel like for PAOK, he did that. He reached his ceiling. There's so many times where he'd have the ball on the end line, and he would just cross every time. He wouldn't be confident. He wouldn't be, he wouldn't try to dribble someone and make that the good cross or a shot. He would play it back. I feel like you said it earlier. He's very confident with the Ethniki, with the national team. But for PAOK,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the way that Van Schip has him playing versus what Ferreira does. I think that it does have a part, because with us he's more of a wing back, a midfielder, and up there and with the Ethniki he's more of a forward, a winger. So I think that plays a part in it. But I agree. I mean, personally, I'm not that much of a fan of his skill wise. He is a hard worker, and I give him that. But from what I've seen for his performances with PAOK, and I know this doesn't get me a lot of hate, but it's just someone that I'm fine with losing. I feel like you could get a young player and do the same thing that he does. Obviously, he does have the potential going forward, and we've seen that potential with the national team, and especially this last game, these last 2 games that the national team played, he did really well. So if he continues that track, then that resale portion we're gonna get even more on. So I think it was a good deal. I agree with your statement about how I think we could get 5 to 6 mil in a normal year. Right, and he is losing this was his last season on the contract. So right, he could have walked free next year. So I think that the 3 million, excuse me, is pretty good for that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I just wanted to add one thing about Limnios, and in terms of his play, he's the type of guy that will probably be a starter wherever he goes in his career. And I hear a lot of people have the same opinion that you have on him, in terms of you're not a massive fan, you don't think he's a big loss. But he's the type of guy, he's probably comparable to someone like Salpi Gidis, who we had in the past when Salpi Gidis played on the wing.
Yep.
Coaches love him because they work hard, they track defensively, they keep their head down, and they're very good. So while I agree with you, I don't think he's a massive loss, particularly since we've changed to this 5-2-3 or 3-4-3, however you want to call it, this formation. I don't think he necessarily fit. He's a pure winger. I agree with you. I think that, in games like in the big games, in the European games, in the derbies, these type of players really are important. So I wish the kid luck, because I really hope that he can, make a career for himself, and good luck to him and for the ethnic year as well. I hope he does well in Germany, but I do agree he does have his limitations. But coaches love him. Coaches love these type of players.
Yeah, I agree, and it's funny that you say that because I coach as well, and high school age kids, and this is the person that I want on my team, right? Work hard, go offensive, come back defensively, and help out. So I think that right for the locker room, and for the overall team camaraderie, it's going to be a loss. But I think on the field, you could find players that will do that, especially younger players.
Yep.
So we'll move forward. I think that Stock obviously not that much of a loss. He didn't get playing time. We're not going to get into whether he deserved it or not, or
Mm-hmm.
should have. Mauricio, I think, was a good player for us, but I think his time was up. And then Wormbloom again never really had the potential. Would you disagree with anything that I just said?
Not majorly, like you said. Stock never really got the chance. His cameo showed he maybe could have offered a little bit more, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. He's gone now, so we move on.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about a couple of the rumors. Yeah, like Yanulis, Pascalakis going to Spain. But we'll hold off on that. We'll see if they do get transferred. Then that's something we could talk about in the next few episodes. But let's move forward to the game versus Benfica, the big game that everybody's anxious for, ready for. It sucks because I have school during the game. I'll have it on my phone. I will have the kids. I'm a teacher, so I'll have the kids just put on the movie. I'll put on the movie, just have them watch it while I'm sitting in the corner watching the game.
Where were teachers like you when I was in school? Never ever did we have that happen.
Or I'll just put it on the big screen and just have everybody watch. I think
Yeah,
that might
give them
work too.
give them a proper education.
Exactly. So, how do you think that we're gonna do in terms of? It's just a one game, right? It's not two legs. Some people think that's
Hmm.
going to help us. Some people think that's going to hurt us. What do you think? Don't give a prediction yet, but going into the game versus Benfica, how do you think that we stack up with them, and how do you think we're going to end up playing in terms of formation wise? What are some strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited like you. Like, these are the type of games that really make you just, feel excited in the few days leading up. Like, already thinking about it, I'm excited and I can't wait. Unlike you, we're gonna have to get up at 4 a.m. here to watch it. So yeah, it's a little bit tougher being a PAOK fan in
Now,
Australia, or
now
just a
listen,
European football fan.
I'd rather do that because there's nothing to do at 4 in the morning. I remember when Greece beat the United States in basketball and Japan in the World Championships. Oh God, that was I think 2006,
6,
five or
yes.
six,
Yep.
right? And that
Yeah.
was a game where it was 2 a.m. in the morning. I woke up early. They won. I went to school. I talked smack to all the Americans, all the guys, but I would rather have that. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, look, that's I would rather have your time zone, but I guess that's a case of the grass is always greener.
Right.
Yeah, so in terms of the game, I do agree that it is the one leg does suit us. I really think that Benfica, what can you say? I mean, they're like they're obviously not on the top tier. Your Real Madrid, your Barcelona's, your Liverpool's, but they're a mainstay in European competition. They're in the Champions League group stage most seasons. If not, they're in the Europa League having a run and are always amongst the favourites. Just to compare what they've spent this summer, they've spent in excess of 70 million euros. So they're obviously a strong team, and they're renowned for bringing talents for this money or for cheaper, for your 10 to 15 to 20, and then selling them on. I mean, the list goes on. You've got Nemanja Matic, you've got David Luiz, Di Maria. There's just a huge number of players, and they've done the same again this summer. A lot of guys coming from South America, Brazilian players. Nunes, who's a Uruguayan striker or attacker, came for 24 million. So they've also signed Jan Vertonghen from Tottenham on a free transfer, who's just a proven centre back at a high level. So look, we're going to be up against it. I don't think anyone has any disillusions about that. I think everyone is quite realistic. It's going to be a tough game. We're going to have to sit tight, be disciplined defensively, and then just hit him on the counter. I mean, we kind of showed the way against Besiktas. We did that. Giannoulis was hugely important, and I'm glad that he's hanging around, at least for this game. Obviously, like you mentioned, we don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks, but he's hugely important with this system. Playing on the break, dangerous. Solis, great scoring form, scored the winner against Larissa. Hopefully he can replicate that. And yeah, look, it's going to be tough, but I have some confidence. The one game suits us. It suits the underdog. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm thinking that we're going to make a good fist of it.
Yeah, I'm perplexed. I'm caught in the middle because my heart is telling me that obviously I want them to win, right? But then it's that pessimistic side of me where I've seen how we've played in Europe the last couple of years in games. It's a great matchup. I think the one game does help us in the fact where if we give up a goal, we don't need to score two, at least right away, right? We could take it to extra time, we could take it to penalties. So I think that's going to help us rather than if we give up a goal. How many times in Europe have we gone down 1-0 away or home, and the away team has the edge? We have to score two, right?
Yep.
Because that away goal aggregate. But I think everything you said is true. I mean, they're historically they are one of the top teams in Europe in terms of player production and player turnover and building up players. Right, they've spent more money in the transfer window this year than we have in the last couple of years combined.
Yeah, I reckon probably in the last 10, maybe in a long time.
Right. So we are definitely underdogs. But for me, the big thing is, I think we have to score first. But whenever we score first, and I don't know if you've noticed, but whenever we score first and it's too early, we tend to sit back. And I was watching one of the two uncensored productions that PAOK TV put out, and they were talking about one of the games. I don't remember which game it was. I think it was the Olympiacos game in the playoff. No, because we scored late in that game. But it was one of the games where we scored early. And
maybe against Addis, maybe we scored 2 first half goals in that game.
Right. I'm not sure if it was that or if it was a Europe game. But so we scored early. And then there was a total change and shift in our mentality. And I believe it was Giannoulis who was saying that it wasn't the coach. The coach didn't tell us to sit back. We just, it's a thing. When you're winning and you score early, you have that question in your mind. Should we continue the game plan and go up, or should we tend to sit back? And against a team like Benfica, if we go up 1-0 in the first 5-10 minutes, you can't sit back against them for 80 minutes, 70
you
minutes.
Can't.
You can't. It's impossible. So I think, hopefully we get a goal early on, and we actually keep the pressure. I think that's going to be key. I think players and I know that he's not the favorite by a lot of players, but I love him. I think a player like Biseswar is going to be big. Now, I don't know how he's going to do out wide if he plays out wide.
Well, do you think on the right back position, on the wing back, he obviously played against Larissa. Would you be playing him there against Benfica? No?
No, I would not. I would be playing a Crespo out there. Or even someone like a Jabal where he's quick, and I don't know if Biseswar can move up and down that. I think Biseswar is better in games like this, him and El Kaddouri, where they can control the game, get fouls, slow the game down, play in the middle of the field. Biseswar scored a good amount of European goals for us. He scored in Ajax a couple of years ago.
Yep, scored 2 goals, didn't he, that game?
Yes, so he's a player that thrives on this, and I think by playing him out wide, it's kind of a waste. So we'll look at the formation now that's tentative. You have a big glaring hole in that right wing back spot. Who would you put there, and is there anything different you would put anywhere else in the field?
Look, I think most of the picks itself, as you said, that right wing back position is the big question. Against Larissa, we're all kind of expecting to see one of Liradzis or Matos we know Matos is potentially on the outer. They both are on the list for European games, so they're options. If I'm assuming without taking anything outside like noise in terms of reading that Matos is kind of potentially done, I'd probably be playing the most senior and accomplished right back, which is Matos. Now I know the wing back, as we play with five at the back, it's a lot more physically demanding position. So he's obviously aged a little bit. I think we saw him slow down a little bit last season in terms of performance. So I think asking him for a whole 90 to go up and down is probably not going to work. So either maybe have him on the as a bench option, or start him with the potential to bring him off, depending on how the game's going. So look, I probably favor on the side of caution and play someone like Matos, who knows the position basically. It's a big game. Like defensively, we're going to be pinned back. We're going to need someone who's defensively sound, and I don't think Bizesvad will give us that. I don't think Zabba will give us that.
Right. Yeah, no. If it was a regular year and we had Matos for most of the preseason, then I would agree. I think Matos is definitely the best option there normally. But the fact that he hasn't been around and there's been rumors why, I know there's rumors about his father, I believe, being sick, about him not working with the team. There's a lot of rumors going around, and I don't know how ready he is to play against Benfica. It's not like they're playing against Tripoli or someone like that. They're going to be playing against Benfica. So if he was ready, and if it was a regular game in the middle of the season, I would peg him to be our wing back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And as a backup, I like Crespo or Michai, maybe a center back, someone who's going to be defensively solid, because that's the number one thing in any European game, especially in a one leg. You need to be defensively solid.
Right. So the big question is, let's hear your predictions. So I guess now we'll go into the predictions for all the Greek teams. So we'll start with other ones first, then we'll end with the PAOK one actually. So we have 3 games this week, correct? We have the Ofi Apollon game. We have the Aris against the Kolosko Valivka, and then our game. So let's hear your predictions on the 3 games. Start with the other 2 first.
Yep. So for Ofi against Apollon, on paper, it's a good matchup. Obviously, Cypriot team, similar level. I don't know. I just have a feeling that Apollon will get it done. The Cypriot team seem to have the wood over the Greek teams in Europe. I don't know if I'm making this up, but I just feel like, especially in knockouts, I feel like I remember Cypriot teams coming out on top. So unfortunately, I want Ofi to do well. We need the ranking points, but I think Apollon will win or go through in that match. Aris against Kolos. Yeah, look, I think it's a 50-50. Kolos, I think, came 5th in Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So a bit of an unknown team as well. I think they were only founded about 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I'll say Aris to qualify in extra time. So I'll go a draw regular time and Aris through in extra time. And our game, do you want to give your predictions for those 2, or do you want me to just go all the way through the bulk?
Yeah, I'll give mine too. So I agree. I think Apollon is going to be Ofi. For the Aris game, that's interesting. So just a little background on the Ukrainians. So they finished 6th. They finished 1 point. So 7th had 25 points, 8th had 25 points, 6th had 26. 6th place was the Europa League spot. So they only finished 1 point from being 8th or 9th. And what's also interesting, like you said, is they're a brand new club. They were established in 2012. Last year they were in the 2nd division, or I guess you could say 2 seasons ago they were in the 2nd division. They finished 2nd, and then this past season they finished 6th. So in 2015 they were in the 4th division. So from 2015 to 2020 they've gone up to the 3rd. They were in the 3rd for 1 season. They were in the 2nd for 3 seasons. And then last year was their first year in history where they were in the 1st division. So they're an up-and-coming team. Their stadium only holds 1,200 people, supporters,
Mhm.
so it's a very tiny, tiny stadium.
Yeah, small club.
Small club, small team. I think Addis is going to do it. I think they're going to win in regular time.
Okay.
I think that the fact that they were playing in Greece is going to help.
Hmm.
So that's my prediction. I think that Addis is going to win regular time.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And they Golos as well won 4-0 today coming into in their league game. So the Ukrainian league has started. So yeah, a bit of good form for them there. But now you make a compelling case. Hopefully the artist does get up because, like we said, we do need the coefficient points.
All right. So the big game, the big game that everyone wants to know. What do you think is going to happen?
Look, Angelo, I'm torn. Like you said, like my heart obviously wants bulk. Like it'd be so big to get through to the playoff round and be 2 games away. We've wanted this. We've chased it for so many years, especially under Savidis. It's become, we've come close a couple years. Obviously, Benfica a couple years ago took it away from us. But my head, obviously, like the points we made, Benfica's a good team. I don't know. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'll say my heart says Barca will win in on penalties. My head says Benfica will go through. There you go. Is that a prediction or is that too
That's
on the fence
fine.
for you?
I think if we get the penalties, we're screwed.
You reckon?
I don't think if it gets the penalties, I don't think we have a shot. But yeah, so again, obviously our hearts want PAOK to win, but I think Benfica's too strong. I think that they're used to playing in big games. They're used to playing in Champions League. I think that we're gonna come out nervous. I hope this isn't the case, but I think we may even give up a goal early on, um, and then we're gonna have to see if it will unravel or if we'll build. But I think that it's gonna be 1-2, the final score. Again, that's it. If you're saying that I had to bet on it, if you had a gun to my head and I had to pick a winner, I think Benfica would do it. But I think it's not a failure if we don't win, and that's something that
No.
I want everyone to know is that obviously we're underdogs. We're not supposed to win. We all want to win, right? Obviously, but we could still have a successful European campaign, and that's something that we need after not being in Europe last year. I think
Of course.
we need it for the club.
And I agree. And just on that quickly, I think I kind of see this as a free shot, given that we're guaranteed Europa League group stage
Right.
football. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a failure. Whatever happens, it's kind of a free shot at a giant of European football. So fingers crossed, though.
That's what I hope the players think of it. So they shouldn't get too nervous. It's a free shot. Whatever happens, happens. Play their game and see what the result is. Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're finishing up right now. So we'd like to thank everyone that took time. It did take a little longer than expected, about 40 minutes, but listen
We
to
had a lot to say.
hopefully you listen to the whole thing. Please let us know anything that you think that we should improve on. Obviously, this is our first time, um, and we're always looking to improve. Hopefully, we'll get to grow a little bit. If you want to jump on the show at one point, let us know. We'll be happy to have you guys on. Unless you're Pascalakis from the forums, then yeah, we don't want him on.
Sorry, Bas.
Um, yeah, so thank you for listening. John, any final words?
No, nothing really. Just thank you for having me. This was really good. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully the people listening enjoyed it too. And I look forward to hopefully doing it again with you real soon.
Awesome. Yeah. So, guys, we'll see when the next episode's coming on. I think it's gonna be probably a weekly thing, weekends, just because of the time difference. But hopefully, we enjoy a big win on Tuesday. Maybe we'll all get drunk and have a last minute call in live show Tuesday night after the game. We'll see.
Sounds like a great idea. I'd be keen for that if we do go through.
All right, guys. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.